I'm very impressed that there are so many people here that are willing to be uncomfortable, because if you haven't figured it out by now, filtration is designed to make you feel uncomfortable. It is designed for you to have sparring issues with the other team members in your winemaking group. If you're not having that, then we've probably already fixed all your problems for you, and well done. But if you are always wondering, why are we always having such issues with filtration all the time? We're here to tell you you're not alone, and it's a blessing. And you'll see that when we go through things. I will say, let me show you this first screen just so that you can marvel at how some of our industries have to filter. You know, this is a vegetable oil, and it's not going so well, as you can see. And I think what we do in the wine industry is we forget that filtration is something that happens from the get-go. It's not something that we should be looking at when we look at a bottling date and say, ooh, crap, we've got a filter. Where is so-and-so that handles so-and-so? You know, you're behind the 8 ball, you're setting yourself up for disaster. Instead, maybe consider that filtration, and our department believes this strongly, that the first day of filtration season is when that bunch of grapes, the first bunch of grapes, get separated from the vine. This is when filtration season starts. Yeah, it's also sometimes called harvest. It's totally overdone. But we think about filtration from day one. And then, of course, yeah, you're going to press the grapes to get the juice out. That's maybe the second phase. If you can include filtration in your winemaking decisions from the get-go, you're going to see that you give it space, you give it time, you give it energy, and maybe it won't treat you like maybe it does. So that's just our philosophy. But one thing that still hasn't changed, thank goodness. Clarity is one of our goals in winemaking. Cloudy Chardonnay is not a thing. Hopefully it won't be. We want that clarity consistently. It's not like some bottles on the shelf can be cloudy and others not. We're not talking about pet nat today. But we also have this little thing called stability. You know, it's if you made a natural wine, you basically let the wine go to vinegar. We interfere because we're trying to outcompete the microorganisms. We're trying to say, okay, Acetobacter, okay, Brettanomyces, you guys have had a good run of things, go pick on somebody else, but we're going to filter our wine and we're going to exclude you so that we can see the best of our grapes. So how do we want to do this? Consistently, beautifully, without a lot of emotion, unless it's nice emotion. So we want to do that consistently, and we want to do it without delays, without issues, one can hope. So we're going to go through, this is really just to get you guys to see a little bit of what filters are out there. You're so close to it, you're so busy with production, and you're so busy getting things into bottle. This is just a little bit of a zooming out, right? What do other wineries have? What have you seen in the different places that you may have worked? Or maybe you're in one winery and you've been there for your whole career and you wonder what is in other wineries? How do people do things? And those decisions are different for each one. Right, so we're going to run through them. The filters on the left there, but the decision making stems from things like, what is my power supply? How much product am I willing to lose? How much capital do I have to spend on equipment? How much do I have to spend on media? How much is media costing me consistently? Who is doing the labor? How much does that cost? I mean, I'm expensive. I can't even afford myself. So I know that would be, if I had a winery, that would be a big consideration. And disposal, sometimes you have counties with different laws, and you can't just dump your spent DE down the drain, which you could, but it's not going to go so well. So all of these things make an impact. So on the left, there are the list. Here is where, if you are nodding off and that coffee didn't make a difference, this is where we have the pictures. So on the left, a bag filter. You may have one, you may not have one. Also sometimes called a sock filter. On the right, a centrifuge, and I really like that picture because it's yellow. And I also really like the operator standing there with his one hand in his pocket. And I want to say the plaid shirt without the vest makes him a brewer. But then I look and I'm like, maybe he's a little bit too clean shaven. So he's in management. He's not getting his hands dirty. See, a lot of judgment right there. This is amazing. So other things that you may or may not see, sheet filters. They've been around since World War I. You may have much bigger ones. That's just a cute one to fit on the screen. We've got lenticular filters, which are basically that sheet filter put into a modular format. There are DE filters, also called pressure leaf filters. We've got cartridge filters. Look at that cute little one round. And you guys, most of you probably have multiple rounds, but look at that. So cute. I mean, I want one just for my lounge to look at it. A crossflow, which has come a long way, and Maggie is going to talk to us about crossflow a little bit later. So just, the thing is with a winery, it's unusual in a production facility to only have one type of filter. In your stable of thoroughbreds, you're going to have different ones. You're going to have ones that can run faster. You're going to have ones that are draft horses that can pull really heavy weight. You're going to have smaller ones and bigger ones because you have all these different parameters, and those things are allowed to change. Many people are afraid of trying different things with filters, and I'm here to tell you it's like shoes. You're allowed to have more than one pair. So we're going to go quickly just through the filtration principles. Typically, physical separation is where you're strictly just trying to separate solids from liquid in a very, very fast and efficient way. And then depth filtration, we're going to go through the different ones there, sheet filters, lenticular, pressure leaf, and depth cartridges. And then we're going to focus on membrane filters. So for the physical and depth filtration, we're looking for clarity. We're looking for getting the suspended solids out. We may be monitoring turbidity. On membrane filtration, if it's a cartridge filter on bottling, we need clarity before we can go there. And on the crossflow, that's also a membrane filter, we're looking for clarity. So a little bit of confusion there because not all membrane filters are for stabilizing. Some of them are for getting that clarity. So physical separation, bag filters are typically used for things like, off the top of my head, a popular one is to exclude PVPP before you get to a crossflow, which really just means that maybe the PVPP that you added to that tank didn't settle and you did rack it, but PVPP likes to hang out in strata. So you might be, you might even have a racking arm, but that doesn't really help. So a bag filter is a very quick and easy and cost-effective way to make sure racking did happen in a way. It's also for when you maybe pressed off a tank of reds and maybe something's happened and you find that there are skins in the receiving tank and you're like, no idea where that came from. The same for unloading tankers that were cross-flowed. Because especially when they come from other countries, one person's idea of cross-flow isn't necessarily the next person's idea of cross-flow. It gets kind of very interesting there. So bag filter, fast speed, I'm always in awe of it because we also see it in bourbon. So think about bourbon. You get to drink it, but the people that have to manage it, they're very rough with those poor barrels that they're pulling bourbon out of. So they're pulling barrel char. And for them to separate these bigger things like barrel char, in a brewery it would be something like dry hopped material. This is a very easy way to do it. So if you don't have one, it's a nice shiny thing to have. Centrifuges, also very good if you have one. The thing about a centrifuge is the maintenance is critical. How fast you run it is critical. It's got great properties, but yeah, it's like anything else. If it's not maintained properly, it's not going to do its job properly. So let's just talk a little bit about depth filtration. You've got, and we're talking about specifically here something that has maybe layers to it. So sheets, lenticular filters, depth cartridge pre-filters, diatomaceous earth or pressure leaf filters. It's a mode of three things, right? The particles get stuck to the filter surface. In the case of a DE filter, that filter surface grows and grows as you dose with more material. The second thing is it gets trapped in the depths of the media. We call that like the collective of all three things here is dirt holding capacity. We want that dirt holding capacity. The third thing, which is critical for many things, is adsorption capacity. So does that media have a charge? So you use DE in a DE filter because that pink powder is much more charged than the white powder. And the same goes for sheets and lenticulars. The tighter the grade, the higher the amount of that filter aid. So this is the long and the short of depth, aka dirt holding capacity. In membrane filters, you have, if you think about a final cartridge filter, and we cut one through because I don't think everybody realizes that the membrane, what it feels like, first of all, it doesn't have much dirt holding capacity. It's a very high precision filter. So you have to come at it with something that's been cleaned up beautifully. It's colloidally stable. If you overwhelm this, it will let you know immediately that it's not happy by plugging in its tracks. So with this filter, you come at it perpendicularly. So you'll see that picture on the left, the feed stream goes in from the top to the bottom. But then we've got cross flow, also a membrane filter, but there the flow is tangential. So it goes not perpendicularly, but it goes parallel to the filter membrane and it gets pulled through. So this is how that surface gets cleaned consistently. So again, you get stability from this. With a cross flow, you get some stability, but you get more clarity. That's what that is used for, just to clear that up because there sometimes can be some confusion. So let's just compare, just to make sure we've got this straight. We've got clarity and we've got stability. We have a lot of options for either one of those. It can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of options. Sometimes a lot of options is overwhelming. Sometimes it's lovely because you can dream about what if you grow? What if you need to update old systems? So to go over all of these things, bag filters pros are low cost, it's high flow rate, it just helps to mitigate mistakes or where you don't know what's going on in a tank because it's not see-through or it's red. So you can't use a bag filter to remove smaller things. A 1 micron bag filter is about, if you compare it to the depth of a pre-filter cartridge, is about a 10 micron bug catcher. So some facilities use a bag filter to be a bug catcher at the point of bottling. Totally okay. It has limited retention on colloids, which we're going to get to. A centrifuge, you don't have to buy filter media from it, for it. It's fast, but the cons are you have high maintenance cost. If you put something really colloidal through it, it can make the filtration worse for the next filter downstream. So if you centrifuge something crazy, and I'm talking sweet, and I'm talking interesting is another word for it, and you go to a crossflow, that crossflow might have real issues because those colloids have been sheared. So it's not the be all and end all, even though that yellow color of that one is so cute. It's good for if you have it. If you have it and you have to maintain it, use it. Other depth filter options, our beloved DE filter that requires, and just, having stood behind one of those things and probably lost most of my hearing because of it, you have to be on your game. Your DE filter is very operator dependent. You could have a brilliant operator that's done it for 20 years, but maybe the game the night before wasn't to his liking and he's suffering and there's some DE bypass going on. And how can you blame the guy? The DE filter is not for sissies. You've got to know what you're doing. And we have to forgive those people because I blamed the people that designed the thing. So that's just personal vendetta. It's also good if you have huge amounts of colloids in your wine and you're a winery that don't believe in enzymes. But I won't get on that high horse right now. I'll let Lee talk about that. Sheet filters, if you have one, keep it. It's always good to have it, but there are maintenance costs involved. There are various pros and cons that it's a 135-year-old technology. One wonders about these things. Lenticular also definitely got its pros and cons. Not all of the media out there is created equally. I can go into that for another hour, but I won't do that to you. And then depth cartridges, if you're using those pre-filter cartridges for your main filtration, it doesn't have as much dirt holding capacity. It doesn't have the adsorption capacity that something like a cellulose-based media or crossflow has. So it's great for protecting your final filter. It's great in some cases for if you have a specific technical pre-filter, you can correct filtrability with it, but it has its limits like anything. And then crossflow, Maggie's going to talk about that in depth. Lovely pun there, if you got it. And it's good it's come a long way. Crossflow has come a tremendously long way. Back in the day, it would heat up wine so much that it would be cooked. We've moved past that. And so it's our most modern filtration. So let's just quickly look at how would a pre-filtration setup look like? And what are the factors that you're going to consider? We're going to look at the wine, of course. We're going to look at residual sugar. Is it malic dry? Is it heat stable? Has it been treated? Is it cold stable? Is it sparkling? What package are you putting it in? How much are you making? So one example is you've got glucose, fructose, dry, delightful dry red wine. You didn't stabilize, and you have a medium to large scale production. You're packaging into 750 ml bottles. You have a centrifuge, lucky you. And then you go to crossflow, and actually that one in yellow you don't have. You used to just go crossflow and you don't wait very long and you go straight to the membrane. But because that wine wasn't fined or stabilized, you might run through membrane cartridges like they're going out of fashion. So adding a pre-membrane filter there is probably in your best interest. A second example, you're a bulk wine processing facility. You have a workhorse of a DE pressure leaf filter, and you are oversized on that to be able to run batches without stopping. And then you are going straight to a pre-filter cartridge, to a membrane cartridge, to packaging, and guess what? Sometimes it doesn't go so well because maybe you need to adjust filtrability. Maybe that bulk processing is taking place over 2 facilities. Maybe you are sending it to a packaging facility that you send it to them DE filtered and you guys take care of the rest. So there's a lot of changes that can happen between those. So we look at that adjustment step might have to be looked at carefully and considered. And then we have canning, which, dry white wine, heat, cold, stabilized, partial malolactic fermentation. We're going to have to do 20,000 gallon lots consistently. It's cans, so we're cross-flowing. And then we're going to pre-membrane cartridges, membrane cartridges. We're also dosing with Velcrin because canning is difficult to stabilize. And if it's a lower alcohol product, then we really need a second kill step like that. And then we have other little considerations like, is it sparkling? Are you sterile filtering into the bright tank, or are you sterile filtering in line with canning? If you're using a mobile canning service, does the mobile canning service allow you to put a filter in line, or is that a no-go? So it can get a little bit complicated. And then this is my favorite because small lots matter, you know. Sometimes you're a big winery and normally it's a combination of ownership that comes to you and say, oh, we want to bottle this 300 gallon lot of late harvest Sauvignon Blanc. And you have a cross-flow that's a huge monster of a machine. You have nothing else. How are you going to stabilize this 300 gallons that goes in cute little bottles that cost a lot of money and that is more of a pain to anyone else? You're going to have to use a depth filter with clout because you have something with residual sugar and you have something that may be pectin and glucan positive, and you're wondering to yourself, how am I spending more time on this small lot than on the 500,000 gallon lot? How did that just happen? And you're confused, and rightly so. You don't have a lenticular filter, you can rent one. If you're here in Napa, there are places that do that. You can rent or you can get a mobile crossflow to come by, but when they hear that it's a late harvest Sauvignon Blanc, they might never talk to you again. So that is a possibility. So we like to look at having reasonable expectations of our setups. We like to ask these 4 questions consistently. What is your starting turbidity? What is your pectin situation? What is your initial microbial load? Ooh, that one is tough because we're going to go into that a little bit later. Maybe you're even having your ownership introducing products that are not straight up wine, but they may have things like fruit purees added to them, or they might have essential oils and things that we're not normally used to added to them. That's why that picture there is not wine. It's not even beer. It's something completely different. And then we have to ask, are we doing pre and post analysis, and how is that helping us? So yeah, it's totally simple if you look at it that way. And this was just a soft introduction. Now we get to the little bit of a one level up. So hopefully the coffee has kicked in, and that's it. Thank you.